All right, guys. So you got in this task of where you got this character, this little ball with tail that you need to maneuver around an obstacle course that you designed. Okay. Now, some of the things I want you to focus on. This is a pre-rigged character, and if you go into the hierarchy here under the basic tail group, then you're going to see everything that goes into this character. There's a lot of rigging, and you're going to notice the depths of how far you can take rigging in a character. And this is just a ball and a tail, not super complex, really. Um, but rigging is new to us, and it can be pretty intimidating. So, one of the things I want you to be aware of is the various controls that you have here with your ball with tail. One is this orange control on the bottom. This is your main control. So if you were to take this, you can move this and place it wherever you need to. Notice it takes everything with it. So that's very important because as I'm moving this character around, I move that around with it. That ensures that all of my rigs, all of my deformers and everything and controllers are all going to come with it. So I control the movement and translation of my object with that. You also have various controls for the body that you can then grab and twist and rotate as well. If you move these, notice that some controls do not go with it. And as you work your way into other controls within the mesh, you'll have other ways and new ways of modifying that body. On top of the body, you have a squash deformer. So I choose that squash deformer. Notice I'm in rotate. It won't let you rotate that. Some of these controls have been turned off for different control sources and deformers. So I can move it, and I can move it up and down. Okay, I can shift it, but that creates interesting dynamics with my object, which don't particularly care for, and it might mess you up down the way. Now, one thing I want you to be aware of is that this whole object in its natural state, so like right here, when I select the squash deformer and I go to the channel box, I only have controls for XYZ on translate. Notice that everything is zeroed out. It's back to its zeroed out natural position. If I were to squash it and key a frame and go, I want to go back to where it was before, it's kind of difficult to get it exactly right when you're just measuring it by eye. But if you go up here, you can zero it back out easily and take it back to its natural position. Other controls that you have also abide by those same rules. Everything has been zeroed out to its natural position. So if you want things to go back to how they are and the tail and everything, you can see how it all is zeroed out. So closer look at the tail here. You have rotate controls, and this is a controller for this particular ball joint on the tail. So you can take that and rotate it. You can scale it. I would probably stay away from that. Rotate is probably the one that you want to use there. Rotating tools. Moving can also work on the tail for kind of exaggeration with stretchiness of how much that object actually flexes and moves. So you can take it and like something fast is happening, you can stretch it out and get kind of that exaggerated look of speed, right? And so take a look at these various controllers, and what I would focus on first is the translation of your character and creating key poses. Okay, so finding from point A to point B to point C, and then so on as you make your way through your obstacle course. So you decide how it's going to go. I typically start with translation first, moving the object to key poses. Next, what I do is typically go into tail movements or squash and stretch next. really try to stay away from doing all the things for every single short movement. Do it in chunks, okay? Keep those chunks, then go back and fine tune the tail throughout the animation, then go back and work with the squash deformer throughout the animation. Create a good workflow, consistent workflow that will keep you from being um, overworked, I guess, as you get into animation. Because you can see right here, just through the basics of translation, these are translation keys that are shown here. It can get pretty intimidating. Another good way to manipulate your animation is to use animation editors and a graph editor. And you can see my object is chosen here. This is my ball character, and it's shown on a graph. And I have a timeline right here. I can scrub through it and see exactly where I might need to tweak some movements. I might just be interested in the Z translation. So I can select over here and just be concerned with the movement on this axis, okay? If something looks like it is not smooth as far as the curve of my animation, you can select these and you can adjust them. So you can say, I don't like how this curve right here is kind of sharp on one side, and it might make for a smoother animation to kind of even that out. And you can do that by taking these are your keys actually, so it shows right here 53, and I can take that and create a smoother transition from 53 to 56. So I can take that and, oh, you can't even see it in this particular case, but you can also see that, well, I don't like that. I can see the tail here. I want to adjust this key. I can do that by simply grabbing it and dragging it down, or dragging it forward to get out of keep it from being shown in that tube. So I can fine tune some things there. Same thing here with this one. I might be able to fine tune that a little bit and kind of adjust, grab and drag that so I no longer see some little things there. And as I'm doing it, I don't have to rekey things. These are already keyed movements. I'm just going through and adjusting them. So you can kind of play around with like that. You can change the curves of the animation as well. Should you want to make more abrupt changes between point A to point B, let's go back there. From here to here, there's a slight curve there, but if I want it to be a very abrupt jump or movement, I can't do that with this. It's always going to create a soft curve. And I also don't want to do that because notice what happens. It kind of slides now. And I don't like that. So I'm going to undo that, keep it flat, but I want to break this tangent. Now I have control over either side. So I can keep that level, but I can also keep a very sharp movement from here to here, rather than it being slowed down with that curve, okay? So there's different ways that you can fine tune your animation with a graph editor as well. You know, it gets very complicated, and you can definitely overwork yourself with these things. If you decide, hey, I want to slow down certain parts of my animation, you can grab whole sets of keys, hold shift over one of these keys, and a little question mark pops up, and you can left click, drag, and extend longer pauses between your keyed motions there. So if you want to slow down parts, it's better to do it this way than to go through and try to find all your keys and extend them down the timeline. So that is it for now. A little intro into the graph editor here with your keys, and you can see exactly how you can adjust and select which single out certain parts to adjust within your graph editor. So take a look at this. Might be worth your while to check out these different settings.